Today, I'm on a mission to create the best sounding daily driver truck exhaust for my 6.2 Denali. And we're gonna do it using a part that looks like it was designed for a spaceship. This is my 2018 GMC Sierra 1500. I picked it up about a month ago to use as my new daily driver, and over the next year, it's going to slowly evolve into a supercharged 6.6 liter hot rod that can still be daily driven and even tow occasionally. I started out with the basics by lowering the suspension about 3 inches, adding a Diablo Sport programmer to disable the AFM and give it a boost in power, and then I added a Flowmaster Flow FX Cat back exhaust to let the 6.2 liter V8 breathe. So I actually like the sound of the truck right now. It's kind of mellow at idle. When you're really on it, it sounds nice, not too loud over the top. It doesn't clap at all. But I want to make it a little bit more unique. So my one complaint about this exhaust, which is being a little bit picky, is take a listen. Right around 17 to 1800 RPM. We have the slightest amount of drone. It's not unbearable, it's not awful, it's just there. And one of the things that I like the most about the S10 exhaust that we built is it had a good volume and it had absolutely zero drone, like not even the slightest bit. And one of the reasons I think is because we used a variety of different mufflers in that system. The Hooker Blackheart muffler that we used has like a chambered section in the middle, and it had the Flowmaster Pro series at the end, which is a packed style muffler. And it has a laminar flow, little delta wing baffle sort of thing in there too. So that's why we're going to try to incorporate some of those ideas into the exhaust on this truck. These are the two parts that we're going to add into our existing system to take the exhaust note from really good to perfect. And we'll talk about why we chose them in just a second, but we got to show you the goods. The first one is a Borla Polyphonic Harmonizer, which it sounds like the name of a Who album or something like that, but it's a 3.5-inch stainless inlet and outlet. Has this molded section in the middle here, and on the inside it basically has 4 little pieces of pipe, kind of like a header collector, and then it merges back into a single 3.5-inch outlet. Then we have this, which is a Black Widow Race Venom. They call it the Angry Housewife. And it's kind of a straight through design with these 2 little plates here that each have a hole in them. So yeah, straight shot down the middle, but then each of those baffles has a hole, and it's the same on either side. So those are the 2 pieces that we're going to add by themselves. Like if we ran just that or just the harmonizer, it would be way too loud. But with all 3 combined, the original muffler and those 2, I think it's going to be perfect. But there's really only one way to find out. So here's the plan. We're going to take the Flow FX, slide it ahead by that length there. We're going to weld this muffler right onto the back of it. And finally, we'll install the harmonizer right in this section of the tailpipe. Of course, we'll make it a little bit shorter, but that's the plan. Exhaust is one of my absolute favorite things to change on any project, and for each system I build, my goals are a little different. For the Sierra, I'm not chasing that equal length Corvette type of sound, nor am I trying to make the loudest system possible. Instead, the most important thing I'm after is a unique exhaust note that sounds good inside the cabin. But the volume has to be perfect. Not too loud, but it also can't be too quiet. It has to have a comfortable tone while cruising so you can have a conversation or listen to music, but when I'm on the throttle, I want to be able to hear the engine. And finally, the system has to be able to support our final horsepower goals. To accomplish this, I'm trying a combination of parts that I haven't seen used together before, and to be honest, I have no idea if it's going to sound better or worse than before, but I am excited to try and see what'll happen. For me, that's the fun of it, trying something new and seeing what the results are. I enjoy welding, and I just like being able to create something that nobody else has. The main volume and tone of the system will be controlled by the Flow FX Muffler. It has a straight-through design with a perforated core and a packing material that'll absorb the sound. As is, I'm 95% happy with the overall system. I just want it to sound a little more unique, which is why I want to add the chambered muffler, which will hopefully add some character to the soundtrack. Now, one kind of cool thing is that both of these mufflers are not directional, which means we could mount it with the big muffler first or the big muffler last. It could change how it sounds, but it'll fit either way. We're going to start with the big muffler up front. That way we can hopefully hear a little bit of the chambered sound out of the tailpipe. And finally, we have the Polyphonic Harmonizer. I've seen these advertised for a long time, and I've always wondered what they would do. The marketing materials claim the diameters and lengths of the tubes inside the harmonizer are tuned to the specific engine to deliver a clean, rich, full-bodied sound, whatever that means. And to be honest, I think it kind of looks cool, so I was willing to take a shot and see if it would improve the sound of my exhaust. Now, I've built a ton of systems over the years, and I will admit I am extremely particular about how I want my exhaust to sound. But that's the beauty of being able to do it myself, because it doesn't matter how many iterations it takes, I am going to get this exhaust sounding exactly how I want it. So, first impressions, it sounds very similar at idle. Couldn't actually notice a whole lot of difference just at idle, but when we're revving it up and kind of going through the RPM range here in the shop, it actually does sound a little bit different. Like the overall volume has been reduced by, say, 10 to 15%. Not a whole lot, because we like the sound level. And it's hard to tell, but it kind of does sound like at that 17, 18, 1900 RPM range, it definitely sounds a little bit quieter. So maybe our fix worked. We'll find out here in a second. But before we take it out on the highway and do some real driving, there's one more thing that we have to install, which potentially could alter how this truck sounds, especially in the cabin. There are 3 basic modifications you can do to any engine to improve its horsepower and efficiency. Let more air in, allow more air out, and adjust the calibration. We've already taken care of 2 of those with the exhaust and programmer, but I wanted to round out the first mod trifecta with some help from RealTruck.com. I picked up this S&B cold air intake kit, which actually fits both the 5.3 and 6.2 Silverados and Sierras, and it offers a 37% improvement in airflow over stock, and because it eliminates the factory air intake ducting, it'll also improve the induction noise coming from under the hood. I chose the dry filter over the reusable oiled version, but RealTruck.com carries cold air intakes and many other accessories, so to check them out, use the link below in the description and pick up some goodies for your truck. Now, let's see how our newest version of the exhaust is gonna sound. All right, so the next day, I drove around a whole bunch this morning doing some errands and stuff. Didn't really notice a huge difference in tone or volume. I could be crazy. The drone is like either worse or about the same. So just for fun, to see what would happen if anything, I reversed the order. So now we have the Black Widow first and the Flow FX second. Still, of course, have the Polyphonic Harmonizer in the back. So test drive again, see if it's any different. And just for comparison, I don't know if there's a difference. This is the exhaust at idle with the Black Widow in front. It's kind of weird how exhaust systems work and little things you wouldn't think make a big difference do, and things that you would hope make a big difference don't. But just flipping the two mufflers end to end, it reduced drone a little bit. I don't know if we're below the baseline, but it's like with the Black Widow in the back, it almost droned worse than without it at all. And it was somehow louder at wide open throttle, but just switching those two, it's like it went back to baseline. It still has a slightly different tone. That fancy Borla thing, I don't know if that's doing anything at all, to be honest, but right here, kind of pulling this hill, I'd say it's like 8 to 10% less drone than when we started. Not a huge improvement. We'll probably change the exhaust again in the future, but it's fun. Remember how we said we'll probably change the muffler again in the future? Well, the future's today. We're changing it up. This is a Flowmaster Pro Series. It's the same type of muffler that we ran on the back of the S10 to give it kind of its signature sound. So we're going to install one just by itself in the Denali. They only make this muffler in 3.5 with the turn down design, but that's not a big deal because we have some of these flare couplings left over. So we'll just cut here, weld it on. I'm going to run this muffler by itself without the Black Widow for now. But if we decide we want to switch it up even further, I'll probably put the Black Widow in front here. But I have this extension piece left over from the original Cat back for the long wheelbase trucks, so this should give us enough material to run this muffler by itself, even though we shortened the original system. So let's do some more welding. By now, you're probably beginning to wonder if I'm crazy. And I'll admit, 4 versions of an exhaust in less than a week is getting to be a bit much. And spoiler alert, the version we're making now still isn't the final exhaust we're going to be building today for the Denali. It seems that each time I make a change, it doesn't live up to the expectations that I have in my head for how I want it to sound. And the biggest challenge I'm trying to cure is interior drone. As I'm discovering, the straight-through design mufflers that we're using can control the volume and determine some of the characteristics of the exhaust system, but one thing they all have in common is a low-frequency harmonic right around 117 Hertz. We'll probably have to explore some options in the future like a J-pipe or a quarter-wave resonator to get things dialed in, but because of how good the supercharged S10 sounded with zero drone, I want to try and get as close to that sound as possible, but as we're finding out, that's easier said than done. I think one difference I might not be considering here is the S10 used a dual 3-inch system where the Denali has a single 3.5, which might change the characteristics of the system enough to make it not quite an apples to apples comparison, even though we're using the exact same model of muffler. All right, let's try this again. I feel like we're getting somewhere. I like the tone. It's a little bit different, a little bit unique. Not too loud, not too quiet. I'm getting frustrated because I'm trying to make a change and I feel like I'm not getting exactly where I want. So there is one final thing that I'm going to do to this exhaust. One more thing we're going to add, but I'm going to go get it. We are going to be reinstalling not that, but that. My thought process here is simple. I like the sound of the Pro Series muffler, but it's still a bit too loud for my taste, and I really wasn't happy with how the Race Venom worked in conjunction with the last muffler, so rather than trying that again, I figured I'd run the OEM resonator since it still uses a full 3.5-inch inlet and outlet, and the stock exhaust had 0 drone, so if anything, it's worth a shot, and it's free. Resonators from a 6.2 Escalade, the short one, and an LS, not an LT, but there's a little bit of leakage there, but still keeps a lot of sound, so it doesn't produce noise as much. It does a little bit, but like choppier. Yeah, it still has that raspy note to it. And this one is weird. It's not a packed resonator like that. It just has a little tube in the middle and it's like chambered almost. At this point, I'm sick of making changes to the exhaust, and I feel like we're getting pretty close to where I want to be. So to lock it in, I'm fully welding the resonator and the muffler together, and then I'm welding that straight to the mid pipe. So now there's no turning back. Well, I think we're in a good spot now. I've had this exhaust on the truck for a couple of days, which is probably the longest I've had any of these last few versions on there. And I'm not going to say we nailed it, because we can always do something a little bit cooler or better. But I'm happy. I can definitely live with this exhaust for a little while. Drone, yeah, it's definitely better. I mean, no question, it's better. How much better? It's not gone, but we can live with it. I still like the sound from the outside when you get on it. There's traffic, but take a quick listen. You know, when you get on it, it sounds kind of cool, not overbearing. You can still listen to your music on the inside. You can still have a conversation. So I think we did okay. I must admit, when we first started this exhaust experiment, I didn't think it was going to take 5 different versions or combinations until I found something that I was kind of happy with. But I did mention I am kind of particular and OCD and probably a little bit crazy. But I do enjoy the process and the experimentation. And right now, I believe we have a system that meets pretty much all the goals that we set out for. It has a somewhat unique sound. The volume level is not too loud, it's not too quiet. And we did even reduce the amount of interior resonance a little bit. So I'm happy with it. We'll be able to live with it for now. But in the long run, we are going to be building a completely different exhaust for the 6.2 Denali. But that's going to happen along with some other upgrades kind of at the same time. So right now it has the 6.2 under the hood. We'll probably throw some like long tube headers, high flow cats, and a cam at least in the 6.2. And then in the very long run, we are going to put a 6.6 L8T under the hood with a supercharger, hopefully. And at that point, or by that point, I should say, we'll have to have a different, higher flowing exhaust. I want to do something with 4-inch. And right now my plan is to use the muffler that we ran on the 4-wheel drive drag truck for a little while, the LMM Duramax muffler. You'll have to check that video out because that was a fun experiment. But yeah, so for now, the exhaust is great. Long term, we will definitely change it again, probably more than once. In the short run, just kind of looking forward on this project, for example, in the short run, we do have some gearing changes that we're going to be doing. We have half of the equation right there. The rest will be showing up shortly. So that's the next thing that we're going to be doing on this truck. And like I said, the cam and the supercharger, that's all probably down the road, because in the meantime, we have a twin turbo build to finish. And I want to give you guys just a real quick sneak peek of the progress that we have been making. You'll see this in the next video, but we've got the twin turbos mocked up on the LS3. So that's what we have to look forward to. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you hanging in there and watching my craziness, because I'll admit this exhaust video got a little bit out of hand, but I'm happy. So thank you guys. Come back soon.